Hello my red velvet cookies and welcome to this video. This is going to be my experiences and what I believe are the pros and the very few drawbacks of maybe coming to Durham, to hopefully persuade you to firm it as your first choice as well, because I genuinely think that Durham is the best UK university. And I'm going to explain why in this video, don't worry. But I do also recognise that people might not see the pros that I think are really good as their top priorities. So that's why I'll be including everything that I can think of basically about coming to university here. So hopefully that can help inform your decision better. So in terms of Durham itself as a town and then the university as a whole, it is so pretty, guys. When you're walking around and you've got your cobblestone streets, or you've got your cherry blossom trees, or you've just got the river winding through. It's such a nice town to be in. The air's clean, the water tastes really good as well, especially if you're from down south. You'll notice the change in how your hair feels, as in it gets softer when you're here. That's what my friends have been telling me, and it just tastes nice as well. And so when it's sunset, or when the sun's out, or even when it's cloudy and a bit foggy, it just feels so picturesque. It feels very quaint, to just walk through. So you can definitely go on some nice walks around here. There's also, of course, the cathedral, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, one of the few ones in the UK as well. And that's really cool as well. You get to do matriculation there. So at the very start of the year, in first year, when sometimes you get the opportunity to put on gowns depending on the college that you're at, but that's really cool. You go in, there's an organ playing, there's speeches, and then you're formally part of the university, and you do that inside the cathedral. And there's also orchestra performances and things like that in the cathedral as well. I went to go see my friend perform Verdi's Requiem 1 or 2 months ago. That was quite surreal as well. The acoustics in there, amazing. And from every college in Durham, I'm pretty sure that there is a view of the cathedral in some way. If you're in Josephine Butler or Stevenson, you kind of have to fight over this hill that they call the Mound, and they both claim it as their own, but you can see the cathedral from that hill. It's not a big hill, don't worry. But then every other college, you do get to see the cathedral from some part of it, which is quite cute. To me personally, my favourite part of Durham is the Botanic Gardens, which not everywhere has, So the Botanic Gardens has such a wide variety of plants. It's got so many different water features, so many different cultural things as well. So you've got the Japanese part, the Chinese part, you've got a North American part, and that has information boards relating to indigenous knowledge. And there are also many opportunities to get involved. So I love volunteering at the Botanic Gardens with the Durham University student group, and so this week I was planting daffodils, and next week I'm helping set up an ethnobotany garden, so I'm really excited for that one in particular. So yeah, you can just get involved with things like that, and it's really nice to be able to carry on with gardening when obviously in university I can't really have a whole soil bed and just be planting stuff, So that's really nice to get outdoors. It's also got a really nice cafe where they had a wide variety of teas and cakes and things like that. And I think a big pro about Durham is that because it's quite small, it's quite peaceful and calm, it's very safe to walk around. So at night as well, when I've come back from the train quite late, especially when it's dark, there's one road where you get speed drivers sometimes. So obviously in Durham, you can't really walk around blind, deaf, mute and frolic through at night, still be aware. Don't take this advice as that you can just walk around without having any sense of your surroundings, okay? Still be safe and be vigilant, whatever. Whenever I leave the house, my mum used to always say don't do anything stupid. So yeah, don't do anything stupid. There might be somebody who's trying to pick a fight, but it is very safe. I've not heard about phone snatching or thieves or things like that. So if you're from London, for example, you're gonna feel a huge difference here. And one of my friends was saying she'll literally just take walks when it's midnight around Durham, and she'll listen to music and it's fine, but obviously you shouldn't be doing that elsewhere. So with Durham, you get that special privilege. There's also obviously cafes, bookshops. There's also cheap places to eat as well. So there's this one shop that does folded pizzas for £4 or £5, which is really popular for good reason. So it's literally a whole pizza that you get. It's just folded up. So it's like a triangle shape. That was not a triangle. It's like that shape. My friend was telling me about a halloumi wrap that was £7 and banh mi for £4. So if you look for it, there are. And there's also a restaurant called Spaghettata, but everyone just calls it Spags. That's why I can't remember the full name. So Spags, as it's known informally, I suppose, they do really good Italian food. I got a like vodka chicken tomato penne pasta, £12. I can eat a lot, right? And I could not finish that bowl. So the portion sizes are really big, and it's also relatively like a good price as well, and you could absolutely share a pizza between 2 people as well, I reckon, if you're not that hungry but you still want to eat out. And finally, the thing that I love about Durham is that it is essentially Oxford without the workload, especially if you take one of the older colleges where they've got more traditions. So say, for example, Castle or St Mary's, or some other ones on the Bailey, maybe like John's, Cuths, Chad's, you know, living in an old building, wearing your gowns at formals and balls. But you don't have to work like 5 hours a day. God forbid I am not working 5 hours a day on my degree. Nah, I don't think I need to. But, you know, you get so much extra time to take part in social things, to make deeper friendships, to take part in sports, to visit nearby cities whilst living in such a gorgeous town. And so going on to the social aspects, one of the key things about Durham is that, like Oxbridge, it has the collegiate system, which is also why it's very similar to those universities. And so what that means is that when you join the university, you're also part of a college. So Durham has, I think, 16, but one of them is for PhD students only. And so this determines where you live in first year, a lot of the time who you become friends with, because these people are who you are seeing constantly around, having meals with them, you're in the same corridor, the same building as them, you're also taking part in clubs and societies with them, and like going to formals and seeing them in the common room. So every college has a common room, and that's like a social space where you can just go and chat, or sometimes they'll have a pool table, table football. So that's where a lot of people can congregate, and you can make friends like that as well. And I think having a collegiate system is so beneficial, because it means that you genuinely find friends that align with you, people that you genuinely enjoy spending time around. It's not like, because I genuinely can't fathom, like at other universities, you're stuck with like the people that you share a corridor with, which if it's like not that many people, there is a chance that you might not get along to a very high extent, like any of them. Or you have to join a university society, which is slightly, you know, intimidating at times. Or you just have to stick with somebody that you sit next to a lecture in, like the first one that you go to, and then you just have to like stick with them for the rest of your university time. I just think that's so weird, because there is such a high chance like that you won't find the one, you know, like the like friendship group just through that. If you're worried about feeling lonely at university, like the first month or just in general, pick Durham. The collegiate system will help you so much, and you can decide if you want like big college where it's like 600 people a year, or a smaller one where it's like 150 people per year. So you can really choose along the spectrum. And another pro is that around, I think, half of the colleges are catered in first year, so that means you don't have to cook for yourself. And I heard about this yesterday, so I'm glad that I'm filming this now, but there's a college called St Cuthbert's, and they offer a self-catered option, or you can get 10 meals per week included, which I honestly would prefer, because sometimes when the meals are a bit repetitive, or if there's just something that you just don't really fancy, so you get 4 options every day, 2 vegetarian, 2 meat ones, different meat, or sometimes it's seafood and meat for dinner. Lunch is just a veggie or a meat option of like the same thing, you know, like chili con carne. And socially, I just think it's such a nice small bubble to be in, you know, like again, when you're going into town, you always see a friend that you know, multiple as well. Like I think I usually see on average like 3 people that I'm friendly with. I always smile, you know, and wave. So it's so nice. It makes you feel really part of this community, this like extended family. Also, everyone seems pretty lovely. I've not had any bad encounters, which I'm really grateful for. This isn't to like dismiss anybody's negative experience, but just from me and my friends, I've not heard of anything bad. I remember last week, I think, when I was coming back from badminton at like 10 p.m. with my friend, and we saw a group of 3 people who were chanting like group hug, and then they were hugging each other, and one of them made eye contact with me when we were walking past them, and I was like, yeah, group hug. And then he came over and then we just started hugging and I like joined in with them, and then I got my friend to join in. So all 5 of us, we had like our arms wrapped around each other, and then we were hugging and like jumping around in a circle, and it was just so much fun, you know. It felt very exhilarating, and it's just that sort of like random encounter that sort of like puts a smile on your face. I think happens quite a bit in Durham as well. There's also a lot of socials in general. So Durham is amazing for drama and music. So drama, there's so many different drama companies. They have this established theatre, like the Assembly Rooms. There's also the Gala Theatre where they perform in. And they also host so many different shows constantly. Music-wise, I don't know how many orchestras there are in total, but one of my friends is in 4 orchestras. So you can imagine, if those are audition orchestras, there's also many non-audition ones. She performed in the cathedral. So imagine performing in a cathedral, like Durham Cathedral, you know. You get Durham University societies, like Banana Society. One of my friends actually met his ex-boyfriend now at Banana Society, which always cracks me up a little bit. But yeah, so you've got Banana Society, for example, as a Durham University one, but then in your colleges you might have like this college's badminton society, and then you would get socials for both, if that makes sense. So you can have like a lot of socials if you wanted to. And yeah, I think Durham, like, if you want to be pretentious, you really can, you know. You can wear gowns to formals and balls. There are always guys wearing suits around town for some reason. There's always somebody with a briefcase. You can be like, you can be whoever you want to be, really. No one judges. Academic wise, the university is obviously one of the top universities. It's Russell Group. They have a lot of research funding for many departments. They're in like the top universities for that in general. So I do biology and geography within natural sciences. Oh, also check out natural sciences degrees, because not a lot of people know about them, but you essentially can blend like biology, chemistry, maths, physics with a non-science but complementary. So like psychology, geography, business, philosophy, economics, things like that. So just check that out if that's something you might be interested in, because one of my friends, because I taught her about mine, she's now switching hers from straight geography to geography and biology to be with me because it is a really nice like hybrid degree you can do. But there is so much support. Oh my god, like if you think about it, you have support within your college, you have support within your department, and then they also have an academic skills center that you can go to if you need help, like looking over your CV or an application. So there is always somebody that you can email and talk to. Durham University has prestige attached to it. So for example, I recently applied to the Laidlaw Scholarship Program, which and I was successful. Sorry if my tongue came out a little bit much. But it means that this summer, 6 weeks fully funded research experience, I get £3,000. Next year summer, the exact same, but I could also go abroad, and then you get to network with people internationally, because Laidlaw, as this organisation, they only do this for the top universities in the world, right? So we've got Oxbridge, Durham, UCL, St Andrews, Harvard, MIT, Cornell. I can't remember all the universities. I think there might be like 2 more in the UK that I've forgotten about, sorry. But my point being is that Durham University has a name for itself, right? It attracts these opportunities that you can apply for, which they support you through. And they have career mentoring programs. So I had a mentor called Hannah, super lovely, and she helped me with my application for the Laidlaw thing, which I then got. So make use and take advantage of the fact that you get so many opportunities. You know, they're always emailing us about, we're allowed to support 3 students on this summer school, because the people running these programs, whatever, know that Durham University is a good uni. Also, I think it's academic, but not really, but all of the sites like lecture sites, labs, things like that are within walking distance of each other, which is a big pro. So you have Upper Mountjoy, which is near John Snow South College, and then you have Lower Mountjoy, which is the main part. It's got the Billy B Library and a bunch of like science lecture sites, and then you've got like Velvet Riverside and like the town centre, which is where I think like history, philosophy might be. But from the very top to the very bottom, it's like 35 minutes, which sounds long, but you could also get the bus, or you could get like an Uber. So if you were to walk, it is manageable. Not a lot of university cities or towns can say that they are fully walkable, whereas I would argue Durham is. Like, I haven't taken any other mode of transport except one time it was absolutely chucking down. Me and my friends go on Uber. So like you can just walk around everywhere, and it's so nice, you know, it's such a great workout or exercise. And also, if you're into politics, the Durham Student Union is quite a big thing where you can really get into that. I think my friend who's in the union was telling me you have like Oxford and Cambridge Union, which are better and like more prestigious, but then after that it's Durham Union pretty much, and they always have speakers coming in. I'm not into politics, as in I don't do politics, so I don't know as much about it. Obviously I am political, because not having a political opinion is political, and especially in this time and age you cannot be apolitical when there is literal genocide, there's literally fascism on the rise. So side point, but yeah, so you could really get into politics if you're interested in that. Sports wise, massive sports site, it's called Maiden Castle, and you've got your football field, you've got your indoors basketball, volleyball, netball, badminton. I do badminton quite a bit with my college. Not DU, I am not Durham University level at all, but with my college. Although, oh my god, last night, right, we technically won. So we only had time to play 7 games because we started playing at 9 p.m. So at 10 p.m. they were like, yeah, no, you have to leave now. But we won 4 matches against the number 1 of the Premier League in the college badminton sport. So they had only won 3 matches, we won 4 matches. We were technically losing the match that was being played 12-4. But that's not to say that we wouldn't have won, because me and my partner who were playing that match, our first match we were losing 2-10, and then we brought it back and won. So, but we ended up settling on a draw because they really wanted to be number 1 in the league table, and they needed a win or a draw to do that, and we don't want to get relegated, so we preferably wanted a win, but we'll take a draw, you know, and then see how the other team does, and if they lose, which hopefully they do, then we won't get relegated. But crazy, like we drew /1 the best team in the league. I genuinely was like, I'm getting absolutely pegged by them, we are not winning, and we kind of did. So that was honestly crazy. But sorry, side tangent. There are so many opportunities for sport. Before I came here, I was not involved in any sports club at all. Just so bad. But at university, right, because you have collegiate level sports, you get to take part in sports even if you've never played them before or you're kind of bad at them, because you just get the opportunity to play without it feeling intimidating, because you're not playing in the whole university. It's more a social thing as well. I've made so many friends through this as well. Yeah, shout out baddies. If you are very professional, there's also a lot of opportunities to do that and compete for Durham University. I think Durham University is like one of the best universities for sport. Also, Durham has great transport links, right? If you think about it, it's in the north. It's literally 10-15 minutes train to Newcastle. One way ticket is £3. There's also a night bus every hour that comes back from Newcastle to Durham, £1. And so if you do want to have a night out in Newcastle, it's pretty easy to get back to Durham. There's also York, there's Leeds, there's Edinburgh, Glasgow. So you can go for the older cities if you want, like York, or you can go for the newer ones like Leeds, Sheffield, Newcastle. You can go to Manchester for concerts as well. I've got friends who have done that. But my point being is, it's not like down south where everything is sucked into London, and London is also expensive and the people are not as nice. In the north, every city has its more unique personality, which I think is just so much more interesting. And especially, I think that's why so many people from London and down south come up to Durham, because it's like that taste of an alternate, like, why was I saying reality? This is not like quantum physics, alternate like thing. You get what I mean, you get what I mean, where you can explore all these different places. It's nice living in like a nice, clean, safe, quiet town for uni. But then when you're a bit bored of Durham, which, you know, you will from time to time maybe, you get to just like go up to another city for a day, and it's so much fun. Also, I just want to talk about the whole stereotypes of Durham not being diverse. So I will say that Durham is predominantly white. I've definitely noticed that where I'm in a room or I'm with friends and I'm like, ooh, I'm the only non-white person here. However, that is never because someone has said or acted in a way that makes me feel left out. It's just something that I think you'll relate if you're like POC, is that sometimes you'll just like have that thought, look around and be like, ooh. I've never experienced any racism at all. I've never felt out of place because of that. I think Durham does give out opportunities that are targeted towards minority groups as well. They could maybe do better at that, but I think it's just sort of like other universities. And this is what me and one of my friends who were talking about, is that it's probably slightly more classist. However, from my experiences, nobody is flaunting their wealth. Nobody is flaunting family connections, or like, my dad owns a petrochemical company in Russia or something. Like, people are actually quite humble that I've talked to. I've not been asked what school have I been at either, to be honest. So I think there are people who might act like that, but there are people who are like that at every university. So I think Durham, whilst you do obviously get a lot of people from those private boarding school network, they stick to themselves, which is quite nice. You might interact with them once or twice during Freshers Week, but as long as you don't keep trying to like join their group or something when they're like saying all of that, you can massively avoid those sort of people. So I would argue Durham is not as classist as people make it out to be. And there's also societies for every minority, or a vast majority of them, so you don't feel really that isolated, because you can take part in these societies and get to be around people with the same cultural background as well. So firstly, the nightlife is not good. I personally don't drink alcohol, and so I quite like that, because it means that you don't get a lot of like really rowdy people every single night. It's mainly Wednesday and Friday, because the nightlife is so bad that I don't think you could go out that much. At Durham, like, you're kind of capped, because there's maybe like 5 clubs that people go to, and that's kind of it. But I do enjoy going out from time to time, you know, because they play songs that you know the lyrics to. It's not just like house music, for example. So I think for me that's a pro, because I didn't want to go to uni in a city where it's really like big nightlife. That's just not really my vibe. So if you are a massive clubber, maybe don't come to Durham. Also, Durham is very hilly and there's steps and things like that. So it's like, I mean, for me personally, I think it's great. Quad glute workout, you know, when you're just walking to town to get some milk. However, if you do have mobility issues, take that into account, because I think it could be quite challenging. There's southern accents everywhere. Like, I did not realise Surrey was populated with that many people. Like, to me, Surrey was just like the UK equivalent of like tumbleweeds going through prairie. Like, I was like, who lives in Surrey? Apparently several people, not even several, many people. There's a lot of people from Surrey, a lot of people from London. So if you like detest southern accents, I would recommend not come to Durham as well, because they are quite prevalent. I mean, you get used to it and it just becomes normal after a bit, but it was like a cultural shock to me, like the first month, where I could just hear like Surrey accents. There are people with the raw accent, which is kind of crazy. It's like, how do you wake up and sound like that? But anyway, this is my main con, right? Apply to Durham, choose the college that you want to be at, but make sure you do not pick Hatfield as your top one. So people often talk about Castle and Hatfield as like the two, because they're very traditional and they have a lot of like private schoolers, boarding schoolers, and they also are the type of people who would be like, oh yeah, what school do you go to? However, I think Castle is the nice rich person. Hatfield is just the awful, would torture an animal rich person, right? So Hatfield, the story that I heard during Freshers Week was that a group of guys took a frog, put it in a pint of beer, force-fed it chocolate and snus. Like, I'm sorry, what? Rugby, football, male, and also rowing from time to time, depending on the college, or just, you know, depending on who's in the club, tend to be quite bad in general across colleges and also across universities. Like, I heard about at UCL, the rugby social was honestly worse than what I've heard at the Durham colleges, like rugby socials. So it isn't just specific to Durham. However, you know, it can happen at Durham as well. And so avoid Hatfield. The people who are at Hatfield, from things I've heard, it's not great. I have one person that I know at Hatfield who's nice, but unless you have like a £1 million trust fund, I think you might feel a bit out of place at Hatfield. Also, I just want to say, you live in college first year, but then second year you would move out and like rent somewhere with your friends. Rent wise for second year on average is £180 a week, which is quite expensive compared to some other places in the UK, you know. So just think ahead of first year. Also, you can find out the prices for first year accommodation on the website. I'll link that somewhere as well, but I can't really give you the figures now because I imagine it changes every single year to keep up with inflation, blah blah. Political economic state of the world right now is absolutely shambles. So yeah, around. But that's not to say you can get cheaper than that, 100%. You can also get more expensive than that, 100%. My friend was telling me he knows somebody with like a wine cellar, and so their house is $240 a week. So you can definitely go either end of the spectrum, but in the middle it's about $180 with bills included. So I think choose Durham. You will absolutely love it here. You will feel so safe and you will feel part of like a genuine community. Uni is what you make of it as well. If you get put into a catered college or a self-catered college but you wanted the other one, you know, you can make the most of it. You will always find your people at whatever college you are, but there are some colleges that are superior to others for sure. So I just want to end off the video with that. Please do like, hype, comment on this video and subscribe if you found it useful. Let me know if you have any questions and I will answer them down below. And yeah, I hope you have an amazing day and love you so much.
Have I got chocolate on my face?
I don't think so.